The revolution will not be televised. The revolution will not be brought to you by Schaefer Award Theater. It will not star Natalie Woods, Steve McQueen, or Bullwinkle and Julia. The revolution will not give your mouth sex appeal. The revolution will not get rid of the nub. The revolution will not make you look 5 pounds thinner. The revolution will not be televised, brother.
Mr. Scott-Heron, poet, writer, musician, and activist, like the revolution will not be televised, made him a notable voice of black protest culture in the 1970s and an important early influence on hip-hop. He was born in Chicago on April 1st, 1949, and reared for a time by his grandmother in Tennessee and his mother in New York. Mr. Scott-Heron's career began with a literary rather than a musical bent. He wrote his first novel at 19, a murder mystery called Vulture. A book of verse, Small Talk, at 125th and Lenox, and a second novel, The Nigger Factory, soon followed. Working with a college friend, Brian Jackson, Mr. Scott-Heron turned to music in search of a wider audience. His first album, also titled Small Talk at 125th and Lenox, was released in 1970 on Flying Dutchman, a small label, and included a live recitation of Revolution, accompanied by congo and bongo drums. Another version of that piece, recorded with a full band, including the jazz bassist Ron Carter, was released on Mr. Scott-Heron's second album, Pieces of a Man, in 1971. Mr. Gil Scott-Heron often bristled at the suggestion that his work had prefigured rap. "I don't know if I can take the blame for it," he said once in an interview. He preferred to call himself a bluesologist, drawing on the traditions of blues, jazz, and Harlem Renaissance poetics. Mr. Scott-Heron's established much of the attitude and stylistic vocabulary that would characterize the socially conscious work of early rap groups like Public Enemy and Boogie Down Productions, and he remained part of the DNA of hip-hop, being sampled by stars like Kanye West. You can go into Ginsberg and the Beat Poets and Dylan, but Gil Scott-Heron is the manifestation of the modern word, said Chuck D, the leader of Public Enemy. He told The New Yorker in 2010. He and the Last Poets set the stage for everyone else. Gil Scott-Heron's work has influenced writers, academics, and musicians from indie rockers to rappers. He has been described by music writers as the godfather of rap and the black Bob Dylan. Chicago Tribune writer Greg Kot comments on Scott-Heron's collaborative work with Brian Jackson. Together, he says, they crafted jazz-influenced soul and funk that brought new depth and political consciousness to 1970s music alongside Marvin Gaye and Stevie Wonder. In classic albums such as Winter in America and From South Africa to South Carolina, Scott-Heron took the news of the day and transformed it into social commentary, wicked satire, and proto-rap anthems. Of Scott-Heron's influence on hip-hop, Kopp wrote that he presaged hip-hop and infused soul and jazz with poetry, humor, and pointed political commentary. Tris McCall of the Star Ledger writes that the arrangements of Gil Scott-Heron's early recordings were consistent with the conventions of jazz poetry, the movement that sought to bring the spontaneity of live performance to the reading of verse. The Washington Post wrote that Scott-Heron's work presaged not only conscious rap and poetry slams, but also acid jazz, particularly during his rewarding collaboration with composer, keyboardist, flutist Brian Jackson in the mid and late 1970s. Gil Scott-Heron died on Friday, May 27, 2011. He is survived by his son, Ramal Rackley, from his relationship with Lermer Rackley, his daughters, Gia Scott-Heron, from his marriage to Brenda Sykes, and also daughters Rakia Kelly Heron and Shigiana Newton. He's also survived by his sister Gail and a brother Dennis, and uncle Ron Heron, and nephew Terrence Kelly. 1 year and 2 weeks later, we offer up this offering of allegiance to the work of this artist. The Gil Literary Complex, the Center for Race, the Study of Race, Politics, and Culture and the Friends of Blackstone would like to welcome you all to Gil Scott-Heron, Passages, Interludes, Subtext, and Understanding. To begin, we'll have Mr. Avery R. Young to come and bless the mic for us.
Junkie walking through the twilight, I'm on my way home. I left 3 days ago, knowing no, I'm gone. Home is where the hatred is. Oh, it's filled with pain, and it may not be a bad idea, but never went home again. Home is where I live inside my white powder tree. Home was an empty vacuum, just filled up with my silent screams. Home is where the needle bar tries to make my broken heart, and it may not be such a bad idea if I never went home again. Stay far away from me as you can, and ask me why. Home is where I live inside my white powder dream. Home with the empty illness, filled with my silent screams.
Mr. Avery R. Young, but I will persevere because that is how my mama raised me. Is everybody feeling all right? Okay, that's the kind of evening this is going to be. We need to know that you are out there. This is a community experience tonight, okay? I should tell you who I am because I just jumped up on this mic like whatever. My name is Kimberly Dixon. I'm proud to be the executive director of the Guild Literary Complex, and we are happy to have you here. We are happy to have you all here for our latest edition of our Applied Words series. where we bring creative writing into intersection with non-literary things like music and like social activism. We are so happy to see this crowd. And I have to give some thank yous to all the people who have made this possible. Besides our panelists, who you will hear from soon, besides our artists, who you will continue to hear from, I must thank, in no particular order, our board member, Andrea Change, who had the vision for this event and assembled the resources to make it happen. Her partner in crime, Mr. Mario Smith, who also assembled the resources to make it happen. They were a team of two who got the work of 20 done. So I thank them for making this happen. I also want to thank our supporters for this event, in particular our partners, Ms. Brenda Sawyer of the Friends of Blackstone, the Hyde Park Chicago Public Library branch, and Ms. Tracy Matthews of the University of Chicago Center for the Study of Race, Politics, and Culture. I also need to give a special thank you to Mr. Jonathan Woods, who was responsible for that excellent video that we saw at the start of the evening. And last but not least, our two neighbors for tonight, B. Gab's Goodies, who made some delicious raw vegan deli food for our artists that we are still full from. So we need to thank B. Gab's Goodies, which is right next door. And last but certainly not least, Experimental Station. If you have not been in this space before, please come back again. It's a very unusual space with a lot of things going on. It's a new friend of the Guild, and I'm sure it's going to be a long-time friend. So thank you to Connie and Experimental Station. If you have never heard of the Guild Literary Complex before, I'm going to pretend that that's not true. But if you've never heard of us before, I want to tell you a little bit more about us. We are a literary presenter who does poetry, prose, and theater readings and performances throughout Chicago. We've been around since 1989, and this is, again, an event in one of our many series that we have. Yes, I'm ready to get down and hear from our first moment in the evening, our panel discussion with several luminaries, several community leaders and artistic leaders from our community. I have the pleasure of reading their bios, very short bios that do not do them justice, but I will be reading their bios and then handing it over to the moderator for this panel discussion in just a minute. In no particular order, the panelists for the discussion of the life and work of Gil Scott-Heron will be Salim Muwakil, Carol Adams, David Stovall, Travis Jackson, and moderator Quraish Ali Lanzana. Let me very quickly read their bios. Mr. Salim Muwakil is senior editor of In These Times, where he has worked since 1983. He is the host of the Salim Muwakil Show on WVON, Chicago's historic black radio station, and he wrote the text for the book Herald, Photographs from the Herald Washington Years. Muwakil has also written for the Washington Post, Chicago Reader, The Progressive, Newsday, Cineast, Chicago Magazine, Emerge Magazine, The Black Scholar, and the Utne Reader, among others. Muwakil has won a variety of journalism awards, including the Top 10 Media Heroes of 1994 from the Institute of Alternative Journalism, the Black Rose Achievement Award for 1997 from the League of Black Women, and the 2001 Studs Terkel Award for Journalistic Excellence from the Chicago-based Community Media Workshop. In his spare time, Muwakil serves as a board member for the Progressive Media Project and the Chicago-based Public Square. He has been a faculty member of the Associated Colleges of the Midwest Urban Studies Program and an adjunct professor at Columbia College, Northwestern University's Medill School of Journalism, and the School of the Art Institute of Chicago. Dr. Carol Adams. As one of the nation's most esteemed educators, Dr. Adams helped to bring about the convergence of art and education in Chicago, particularly in its museums and public schools. Former positions include chairman of the African American Studies Department at Loyola University, director of the Center for Inner City Studies at Northeastern Illinois University, and most recently, the secretary of the Illinois Department of Human Services. And of course, she is currently leading the DuSable Museum. Carol Adams has spent... I heard a that was very warm. Carol Adams has spent much of her career engaged in cultural arts research, analysis, and production. Her unique perspective on art and its integral role in shaping and defining culture and community is informed by her parallel study of sociology and Africana history and culture. Among her many awards and honors is the Illinois Arts Council Governor's Award in the Arts. Dr. David Stovall is Associate Professor of Educational Policy Studies and African American Studies at the University of Illinois at Chicago. His scholarship investigates 4 areas: critical race theory, concepts of social justice in education, the relationship between housing and education, and the relationship between schools and community stakeholders. In the attempt to bring theory to action, he has spent the last 10 years working with community organizations and schools to develop curriculum that address issues of social justice. His current work has led him to become a member of the Greater Lawndale Little Village School of Social Justice High School design team, which opened in the fall of 2005. Furthering his work with communities, students, and teachers, Stovall is involved with youth-centered community organizations in Chicago, New York, and the Bay Area. In addition to his duties and responsibilities as an associate professor at UIC, he also serves as a volunteer social studies teacher at the Greater Lawndale Little Village School for Social Justice. Mr. Travis Jackson is an ethnomusicologist whose work centers on jazz, rock, and recording technology. His theoretical interests include urban geography, race, culture, and identity, ethnographic method, performance, and aesthetics. He is the author of the forthcoming Blowin' the Blues Away, Performance and Meaning on the New York Jazz Scene, as well as articles on topics ranging from the intersection of jazz and poetic performance to the interpretation of meaning in rock. His current work focuses on the effective attachment of musicians and listeners to recording labels. And our moderator for the panel is Quresh Ali Lansana, who is author of 5 poetry books, including They Shall Run, Harriet Tubman Poems, a children's book titled The Big World, and editor of 8 anthologies, including Dream of a Word, the Tiachucha Press Poetry Anthology. He is Associate Professor of English Creative Writing at Chicago State University, where he served as director of the Gwendolyn Brooks Center for Black Literature and Creative Writing from 2002 to 2011. He is a former faculty member of the drama division of the Juilliard School and former associate editor poetry for Black Issues Book Review. Quresh earned a Master's of Fine Arts degree at the Creative Writing program at New York University, where he was a departmental fellow. The book, Our Difficult Sunlight, A Guide to Poetry, Literacy, and Social Justice in Classroom and Community with Georgia Popoff, was published in March 2011 by Teachers and Writers Collaborative and was a 2012 NAACP Image Award nominee. Mystic Turf, his 3rd full-length book of poetry, will be released in November 2012 by Willow Books. Now, I just read you a whole lot of credentials of a whole lot of people, but ultimately, this is about the human interaction on this stage. So are you guys ready? Just let me know you're still out there. Okay. Without further ado, our panel.
Thank you, Kimberly. Thank you, Avery and Sharif. Was that not a blessing of the mic? It's a pleasure to be here with all of you because you look lovely. You should look at yourselves. Try and flip your pupils back so you can see how good you look. And it's a pleasure to be here with this distinguished and amazing and very, very handsome group of human beings who are very smart, too. You got that, right? Like they on something over here, right? So we've been asked to have a panel discussion sort of discussing Gil Scott's life in 45 minutes, which is a tall order, right? Under 4 lenses or 4 guises: his written work, his music, his cultural, social, political content and context, and his biography, his life. And in many ways, his art, all of his music, it's a confluence. It's a meeting of all of those things. So it's separating them is why we have these brilliant minds up here to try and parse all of this stuff, right? But we're going to begin with discussing his written work. I'm going to begin with a quote from Mr. Heron himself. "The spirit should be material. It's your blood. Inside your bloodstream is your parents and their parents and their parents, and they want you to make it. Because when you do what you do and you're successful, then they're happy you made it. You're their link to immortality. Where do ideas come from? They come from the spirits. You are not as much of your own person as you would like to claim." How, yeah, right? You can give him some love for that, right? How does that, I mean, there are many concepts in that, in those quotes, in that quote. How do you all see the idea of spirit and legacy and continuum informing the written work, the language itself? And how does that manifest?
One of the things that well, peace and greetings, everybody. Hopefully everybody is all right, and, thank y'all for coming through tonight. In terms of Gil Scott-Heron's writing, the first thing that comes to mind is the nigger factory, right? But his commentary was actually comes about the same time that a group of students were marched through the streets of Jackson, Mississippi, shirtless, including women.
Right.
So this thing around understanding what he was talking about and then not letting that sit by the wayside. So this thing around this legacy of us understanding that history. So when I show my high school students that picture, they're saying, when was that? Like before they had cameras? No. That was 1969. Right? And people being marched through the street, including women shirtless, right? To remind you of what? Right? Where slavery is still, was still on the books in Mississippi until 1995. Right? So this thing around understanding that particular trajectory and how not so much to lament that, but to actually use it as the site for us to remember that we should never go back there again. And how many times do we participate in our own demise when we don't remember those things?
I think he also appreciated the ancestors all the time. That's clear, that he didn't think that he had some singular gift that he was the beginning of, but that he was in the tradition and he was going to represent. He was going to carry on. He was going to carry it through at whatever cost. So this is a stream. I mean, when you hear people try to categorize and say things that he hated, like Godfather of rap and all that, it's like he started something, and he didn't start that. He continued that. He recognized that he was a part of that, whether that long oral tradition, the beat and the word, the call and the response, or even in more contemporary times, an Oscar Brown Jr. Okay? And a Mary Baraka. There are a lot of people that informed him, and he understood it, appreciated, and spoke on it.
Yeah, and if I can add one thing quickly to that, one of the things that strikes me to amplify what Dr. Adams just said, in all of those situations, he's bringing the names of people into what he does. So if you listen to the bluesology thing that showed up in that film from 1982, Gil Scott-Heron, Black Wax, he's talking about singers, he's talking about people who have inspired him. And what's great about it, if you don't know who those people are, then that's the opportunity, if you're paying attention, to go back and find out who they are. But even when he's not talking about the community, if you listen to something like Watergate Blues, then you also need to find out who all those people are, who all those crooks are who he's talking about, so that you can have a sense of how the government operated then and apply that to how the government operates now.
Yeah, and H2O Blues is another one of his cuts in which he was very he was very concerned about referencing certain names and certain strands. And I think about Gil in terms of how he was attempting to fuse certain certain kinds of consciousness, because he started out, he was explicitly emulating the last poets, explicitly, and he wasn't trying to act as if it was some derivative kind of form. He was explicit about that, and then he was quite clear about where his aesthetic was coming from. He referred to Lady Day and Coltrane, for example, to fuse the spirit of bebop and that whole aesthetic from earlier years to where he was coming from. And so he was simply a part of a continuum, and he knew it, and he enabled all of us to be awash in that knowledge.
Just some real quick, what Brother Travis was just saying. I don't know if you all remember this reference, but when Gil Scott-Heron, when I first was hearing Gil Scott-Heron, I was in kindergarten, right? And I didn't know who Skippy was. Does anybody know who Skippy was when he was talking about? That was him talking about Jimmy Carter. Right? And I was like, Skippy, peanut butter, Georgia peanut farmer. Oh, that makes it make sense. But I mean that type of his history lesson or what have you in terms of making it make sense.
Well, since you went there, David, since you went there,
you gotta talk about Skippy.
No, we're gonna talk about your introductions to Gil, right? Mine, as we discussed earlier, mine was in '75, right? That was '75 Saturday Night Live, right? In small town Oklahoma, right? Probably 5th, 6th grade, you know, and there's this brother with these keyboards with this afro and this voice. And I didn't know what hit me, right? What were your introductions?
Angel Dust. Right? I mean, that's I mean, you know, and we were talking about it in the back earlier today. I got smacked in the head for singing 2 songs. Angel Dust and Grace Jones, Pull Up to My Bumper, right? So those 2 joints, and, you know, when you little, you know, you just singing it, you know, Angel
he was already eclectic,
Dust,
right?
You like, man, you know, and that's a whole thing. And then so those songs, so Angel Dust and The Bottle, because in Chicago, you know, we're house heads, right? You know, they would play The Bottle and the thing that I would love about it was if you go to the 12-inch of The Bottle, and I got on the Wheels of Steel, Jay too, right? So Jay would play the extended disco 12-inch version of The Bottle that's like 20 minutes long, right? So that whole piece around like those 2 songs. But again, I had an uncle who had a terrible habit who ended up passing of a heroin overdose. So Angel Dust always made me associate that song with him because he passed around the same time that the song came out.
My first one was Pieces of a Man. Okay. And I think we wore it out. You know, you just kept on it. And every single cut was powerful. You couldn't have a favorite with Gil. You know, you buy certain people's albums and maybe 1 or 2 cuts you liked and the rest was just okay. Not Gil Scott-Heron. Everything, every word, the precision, the fact that he wasn't going to waste this chance to get a point across, to communicate, to spur us to activism, and which at some point we certainly want to touch on. He wasn't just singing, you know.
And if I can go in and we go back to 1975, but actually a little bit before. I grew up in Nashville, and there was a point around '74 when I was about 4, when my father decided that my brother and I were not listening to enough quality music. And he decided that rather than have us listen to the R&B station in town, we should spend some time, at least a couple hours a week, listening to the Fisk University radio station. And it was there that, you know, we started hearing Bob Marley and Nina Simone, but also this guy, Gil Scott-Heron. And I was taken enough with hearing Gil Scott-Heron on that radio station that when I heard in December of 1975 that he was going to be on Saturday Night Live with Richard Pryor hosting the show. I was about 6 at the time. I got permission to stay up, and I took the little Radio Shack tape recorder we had, and I stuck it in front of the television and recorded Johannesburg and A Lovely Day. Those are 2 songs he did on the show. And I wore that tape out for about 2 months. And then my brother decided he needed to tape something. He taped over it, and I was mad. I mean, I'm still mad, but
right. So,
well, I have a slightly different story. I actually, well, my first exposure to Gil was comment number 1 on Small Talk on 125th Street in Lenox. But I actually met Gil Scott-Heron right after that, and it was 1970. I was a member of the Black Panther Party, and I met him outside of Mount Morris Park in Harlem, New York, where the Last Poets were performing, and he was in the audience, and we struck up a conversation, and he told me he had just appeared at the East in Brooklyn, and the East was a notorious cultural nationalist spot, and at the time there was a lot of controversy in the community between the cultural nationalists and the revolutionary nationalists, the Panthers and the cultural nationalists like Amiri Baraka and the folks at the East, G2 Wiusi and a few of those brothers, Sonny Carson and all of them. And so we were talking about that division in our community, that ideological division, and how debilitating it was, and how we could try to reconcile, because he was, he felt both of those movements, and so did I. I mean, I was raised really on Amiri Baraka, his words, and then when I went into the Panther Party, they had a different take, but it was still, to me, a compatible sensibility, and it was for Gil as well. And so we talked about it. I went and attended his show the next day at the East, and then we went back to his place. He lived near Sugar Hill in New York, and we used to hang out there and get high and all that. And I noticed that Gil really liked to get high, I only bring that up because now, if we look back in his life, we see just how much of a feature that was in his life. But even then, it was distinguishable. He was. All of us got high, but he was a cut above that. He was more dedicated to getting high than we were. But I mean, he produced as well. That getting high, must have been good for him, because he was producing some quality work. But it also stopped him from. We were going to the. On May Day of 1970, we were going to protest the Black Panthers at New Haven and Yale, and he was supposed to go with us, but he was too high to show up. So, so that's how I met Gil and stayed pretty contemporary. We stayed in touch throughout much of his career. One of our rituals was to compare how gray we were becoming, who was graying the fastest. I was winning at the time.
All right, so this seems like a good moment to close this part of the conversation with a video from a very distinguished gentleman, the founder and publisher of Third World Press, poet, activist, scholar, nation builder named Dr. Haki R. Madhubuti. Are we ready to do that?
There is no let up. We have to do this kind of work if we're serious about our people. Gil Scott-Heron was serious. We published his book, So Far So Good, back in the, I think it was about 80s, in the early 80s, so we published this book in 1980. And and what's in this book essentially are his major poems. And just to give you some names,
okay.
Winter in America, what you say is from the Indians who welcomed the Pilgrims to the buffalo who once ruled the plains, like the vulture circling beneath the dark clouds, looking for the rain, looking for the spring. From the cities that stagger on the coastlines, and the nation just can't take much more. Like the forest buried beneath the highways, never had a chance to grow, never had a chance to grow. And Johannesburg, what's the word?
Johannesburg.
Tell me, brother, have you heard from Johannesburg?
Yes, sir.
What's the word? Sister woman, have you heard from Johannesburg? They tell me that our brother over there are defying the man. We don't know for sure because the news we get is unreliable, man. And you move on. I mean, you get all pieces of a man. Be no bargain day, extra on freedom, and ain't nobody giving it away. Echoes from overvoice get trapped inside. So this book essentially has his major pieces. The revolution will not be televised. You will not be able to stay home, brother. You will not be able to plug in, turn on, and cop out. You will not be able to lose yourself on Skag and to skip out beer doing commercials because the revolution will not be televised. And wouldn't go on and on because he was a genius incarnated. And I think that, and this is the problem. See, in America, And this is why community is so important. You can have insight and can share it with a few people here and there. But if you're a black man or a serious black woman in this culture, you've got to have a community that you can talk to, because outside the culture, people call you crazy. They think you've lost your mind. And so if you don't have that same community that you're dealing with on a daily basis, then what will happen, you may end up going crazy yourself. And part of this is what happened to Gil. He began to involve himself in drugs and other things that he shouldn't have been involved in. And I talked about him into daylight, talking about these drugs. And so it's clear.
You've talked to him?
Sure,
okay.
Absolutely.
Well, did he justify it at that time?
He denied it.
Okay.
He denied it. We don't dwell on the negative, but you can't hide the negative. That's all I'm saying.
Right.
Is that he was not strong enough and did not have the kind of extended family or even personal family to deal with him on a daily basis to keep him off this stuff. And so it took him away from us. But for the most part, he left a wealth of words, 20 albums, 2 novels, 2 books of poetry, and the last memoir, which is The Last Holiday, which is a memoir.
Yes, sir.
Thank you, Baba Haki. Thank you, Todd, on the sound. So we're going to move on to discussing the music, right? And beginning again with a quote from Mr. Heron. I was introduced into what is laughingly referred to as civilization. The term itself demonstrates how mankind has managed to maintain a sense of humor throughout all of history's chaos. I am a black man dedicated to expression of the joy and pride of blackness. I consider myself neither poet, composer, or musician. These are merely tools used by sensitive men to carve out a piece of beauty or truth that they hope may lead to peace and salvation. Right? That's a lot to think about, isn't it? Thinking about that quote in context to what Mr. Heron, his musical journey, right? We understand, as a couple of you have mentioned, it began with his directly owning the last poets is what I'm about. But evolving with the influences of blues and jazz and his knowledge and love of music into something that wasn't quite like anything we'd really experienced before. Understanding what was happening in the Black Arts Movement, and there were some elements, but nothing quite like what Gil was doing. Can you define and determine what he was doing that made his voice and his music so distinct? And I'm thinking, and I want to end this question with the journey that ends with "I'm New Here," which is a completely different vibe, a series of vibes, collections of vibes and energy from anything previous.
Well, and I'll start with his last album, "I'm New Here," right? There is a song on there called "Me and the Devil."
Yeah.
Right? And for me, it's always thinking about how he understood the devil. There's another song on there called "New York is Killing Me."
Yeah.
Right? So this thing, "Me and the Devil," right? Because, that's an idiom in our community, right? So when you ask elders in the community how they doing, they say, "Hey, I'm still fighting the devil 24/7. Right? And I'm always thinking about that in terms of his work, right? So Gil Scott-Heron being the first artist signed to Arista Records, right? So he made Clive Davis's career.
Yes, he did.
Right? So we very rarely talk about that. But this thing around understanding his work and this trajectory of work, or this continual work, as this thing that was commentary and ideas about life. So I think we get caught up too much in trying to describe it as this one thing, right? And I think it's really to capture that spirit, right? He was making commentary through and through on black life, right? On life in general, right? Because I'm thinking about We Almost Lost Detroit. I was talking about Karen Silkwood, right? And Detroit almost being destroyed by this nuclear situation, right? So this thing around Gil Scott-Heron had commentary on life, right? So if we can call it life-fighting music, right? In terms of, you know, the brother Rashid says revolution is another name for life fighting, right? So this type of thing, to take that trajectory of life and to put it in song.
Nice.
And it had this universality to it because it was so encompassing. There wasn't anything that wasn't touched. It wasn't just about one thing, which is why he defies being put into some kind of box. Because whatever the subject, whatever the topic, the war, the ecology, the whatever, that there was going to be a comment, a strong comment, a position, a suggested action. Not just a lament, but something that was supposed to stir you. And that's what I think really got us, Krish. I think it stirred us. You couldn't listen to it in a passive way. It was a soundtrack for the times. We didn't want to talk about it. We wanted to be about it. And that's what his music did.
Yeah. And we don't have that now, do we? Go ahead, Travis.
Yeah, and if I can jump in there, one of the things that's most striking to me about Gil Scott-Heron as a musician, if you take the Gil Scott-Heron we hear with just two percussionists on Small Talk and 125th and Lenox, and then compare that Gil Scott-Heron to the person we get on that run of albums from Pieces of a Man up through, let's say, roughly Secrets. One of the things that becomes really clear is that, well, two things become really clear. One, Gil Scott-Heron is partly as good as the people he's collaborating with. But this makes him very much like all of the other great musicians, especially in African American musical traditions. We talk a lot about individuals, but Gil Scott-Heron is working with Brian Jackson. He's working with Brian Jackson throughout that period of time. But one of the other things that's interesting about that trajectory, at the beginning, Brian Jackson's writing all the music, and Gil Scott-Heron's doing the lyrics. As time goes by, the proportion of songs on those albums that are written solely by Gil Scott-Heron, they increase. So The Bottle, Winter in America, all these songs, solely written by Gil Scott-Heron, but even then, there's the Midnight Band behind them. So we can't...
First minute of a new day.
So we cannot talk about Gil Scott-Heron without talking about the musicians with whom he worked, the collaboration that made those sounds possible. Because when we get to something like Angel Dust, we got Gil Scott-Heron working with Bill Laswell. There's a reason why that sounds different. Not that there's anything wrong with Bill Laswell. Bill Laswell did a lot of great stuff around that time. But Gil Scott-Heron is about the collaboration. He's a poet. He's bringing other people into his words, but he's also bringing other people into the music. And neither one of those are complete without all the other things going in.
But you're also suggesting, Travis, that his musicianship, his command of his instruments evolved.
And he definitely, by the time he was doing Winter in America, by the time he's doing The Bottle, some of the early songs he's doing mostly simple things.
Simple chords.
Simple things. As time goes by, he's using, the minor seventh chords, the major seventh chords in the same way that Stevie Wonder was using them, in the same way that Marvin Gaye was using them, in the same way that somebody, the person that a lot of people sleep on is Al Green. That guy's got crazy ears, right? But Gil Scott-Heron is clearly like listening to all of this stuff, taking it all in as he develops.
Celine?
By the way, Al Green will be at Ravinia next week. He'll be at Ravinia. WVON is sponsoring, by the way.
Get your plug in.
Gil was attuned to the zeitgeist like few others were. I mean, he kind of expressed the sensibility of black people. We were finally coming into our own. This was the Black Power movement. It was kind of the end of it. I mean, we had expressed it, but we were exhilarated by it and a little bit disoriented by it. And Gil's music spoke to that in a way that few others did. He didn't have an ideological axe to grind. One of the things that differed him from the last poets, for example, was that many of his rhymes were more street level and oriented to everyday life. The last poets were dealing with African esoterica in a lot of ways, which is good. I'm not saying there's anything wrong with that, but Gil had a different take. In fact, there were two last poets. I don't know if you know that, but there was one last poet that included Felipe Luciano, Gillen Kane, and Steve Nelson. These are brothers who also had a kind of street level sensibility with their poetry. But Gil brought another thing. He brought, as I say, that Lady Day Coltrane spirit, that the notion of avant-garde aestheticism that he brought to the movement in a way that few others did. And so he was attractive to a lot of people on the, college, intellectuals who were dealing with ideas and philosophy, and then folks on, who just wanted to jam, that kind of thing. He brought that together, like the last poets say, rock the boulevard and still the seminars and whatnot. He was that kind of cat, and so I think that's what distinguished him in such an unusual way.
Do you all think that? How many of you in the room have raised your hand if you've heard "I'm New Here"? His last CD. Okay. We all up here recommend that you do, right? Yeah. Richard Russell of XL Records, a British young man, wrote Gil, and while Gil was on Rikers Island, said, "I want to do this project with you." Gil said, "Well, come on, we'll see," right? And so he comes, he shows up, he visits Gil on Rikers Island, and Gil's feeling him, thinks, that he knows his stuff, knows his history, and he's serious. And then when Gil's out after a year and a half, which we'll talk to in a moment, it should have been 30 days, but it was a year and a half. It was a whole nother thing. They produced this record that is, it's electronica, it's folk, it's easy listening. It's blues. Like it's very very difficult.
It's
listening.
Painful.
It's very painful. Right. Why is it painful, Dr. Adams? What makes it painful?
Because I feel that his music always expressed what was happening with him at the moment, what was going on at the time. We've been watching this thing happen. Okay, we've been watching this thing happen. We didn't do anything. Or if we thought we were doing something, it didn't work, because there were people right here in Chicago who tried really, really, really hard. So it hurt to know that this was the last word, and that the last word wasn't triumphant. It was still angst and pain and hard times and, just suffering, and you felt like, hey, we were pulling for you, but we couldn't pull you through. Right. We didn't do. Just like the Avery in his opening, hey, and watch me die. Right. So that's why it's painful. At the same time, the cut I like on there is "I'll take care of you." Yeah. Okay? That's amazing. Yeah. That he could still come out with that, because I'm feeling like, hey, we should have took care of you. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it's one of these things where, if you listen to, just to stick with home is where the hatred is, it's almost as though when he's doing those things in the 70s, even though he's got some personal experience, right? It's almost as though he's the Greek chorus in the background commenting on what's going on. By the time we get to... It's so hard to see him go down that same level. Yeah, and by the time we get to "I'm New Here," he's not the chorus, he's the protagonist. That's right. And that's what makes it really rough.
Yeah, they... In terms of listening to, when I first heard "Me and the Devil," and a friend of mine, I didn't actually believe that it was Gil Scott-Heron, and hearing his voice. But I would encourage everybody to check out his very last performance at the Del Rey Theater in Los Angeles. It's really freaky to me because his voice is flawless in his performance. But I'm always trying to figure out what's that contrast between me hearing "Me and the Devil" and then this flawless last performance, right? So almost like the Creator, the Most High, was blessing him at that moment to say, it's time, right? But this thing around looking at that space, and we see this all the time. First thing I thought about when I heard "I'm New Here" was, it made me think about Jimmy Reed. And Jimmy Reed was a blues artist who actually would travel the Midwest actually on the train. Right, but not as a passenger with Pullman porters or what have you. He'd actually travel in a freight area, right? So, as our elders would call hoboing, right? So this thing around, and Jimmy Reed died penniless and in a very sad state, and actually his liver just disintegrated essentially. So this thing around watching him, from that progression as somebody who was very highly touted, and then seeing that decline, you actually can hear it in his music. Yeah. So that thing around thinking about Gil Scott-Heron in that same type of tradition of Jimmy Reed.
I think he'd bring out the poet in you. I mean, you know, make you start thinking and writing. Because when I started trying to think about this, that's what I did. I started thinking of phrases and things to say and kick it, quit it, kick it, quit it, you know. So then I said, look, him did not fit through the needle's eye. Far too much intuitive, creative brain and spirit, wrenching, soul-bearing, hyper-awareness. Imagine handling all that. He wasn't really new here. He was old here, grew old here, had been here many times before. Thus all that wisdom and all that angst, all that promise and all that despair. He had wrestled with the devil many times, knew him on a first name basis. And down them dead-end streets there wasn't no turning back. Gil, you were yours, but we wanted you to be ours. Loved you but couldn't save you. Pulled for you but couldn't pull you through. You were a long way from home and good vibrations.
Oh. Hey. Hey.
And I got another career coming, Karish. Just wait on it. Wait on it.
We are ready for you. So,
now that's 50 careers now, right?
Exactly. And counting.
That type of spirit, because like, Gil had this really interesting story. Like, you know, his old man was like a soccer player, like this big time soccer player. He was a member of the Glasgow Celts, right? So all these things around actually having that type of relationship and being able to see it. So we were talking just a little bit ago. He has a song called 17th Street, and I was actually on 17th Street, right? And in the 70s, he's making commentary about gentrification. Right?
Oh, yeah.
On 17th Street right now, the only thing that's left is a little old Puerto Rican church, right? Surrounded by furniture stores, boutiques, spas, right? And he's 30 years commentating on his 40 years, actually, as he's seeing this thing happen. Because Gil Scott would say, you know, it was all Puerto Ricans and me.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So this thing around seeing that now come to fruition is heavy in terms of like being able to go back and forth between that space. Right.
And I you know, there's one more anecdote that may be illuminating. One of the last times that I got together personally with Gil was in Detroit. I went to see one of his shows. I was doing a story there, and I took the opportunity to go see one of his shows. And it just so happens that Kwame Ture, who you know used to be Stokely Carmichael, was also there in the audience. We sat together, and again, one of the things that Kwame and I often did as well was to compare. I guess when you start getting older, you start to compare your gray hair and that kind of thing. So we would see who's graying, and so at the end of the show, him, Gil, and I got together. He talked about how much he liked Gil's music, blah, 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 and he had it in Africa, and a lot of Africans liked it, and blah, and Guinea, which is where Kwame lived at the time, and you know, we compared our hair again. You know, we compared our gray hair, and again, I won.
I just want folks to know, in the event that you do not know, that he was busted with $20 worth of coke. $20 worth of cocaine. Right? The initial sentence was for 30 days. But the judge intervened and upped it to a felony. He was held in contempt of court for asking the judge to step aside, and then was served a sentence of 1.5 years. And that's why he ended up on Rikers when Richard Russell found him.
And sick.
Right? So think about that in context to not so much his struggle with addiction, but in terms of the art and the work and the life and all the things in which he brought to our attention for this to happen to him.
I want to just talk about the Chicago context of Gil, beside being born here. Because I think there was a lot, and a lot of us have those memories, you know, at the Cubby Bear or wherever you go and hear him. That was a place he went a lot. You know, he came here. He did some shows that we produced. I had him at Loyola, and I will never forget it because it was hard to do. They fought us hard about bringing Gil Scott-Heron to Loyola, but we were determined and we fought back. And every little thing you could think of came up to try to keep that from happening. I know y'all remember, but we made it happen. And Gil did 2 benefits for Ujima. I see you out there, Jeanette. And it was really a lot to do with Jeanette and Roscoe Foreman, also Chicagoans who were his legal counsel for a very long time, his entertainment lawyer. So he had that association. He had the Third World Press Association, and that with Haiki. He also had a strong association with Kahil El-Zabar. You guys know he booked him here, and Kahil fought hard. He called everybody in Chicago and said, we need to put all our money together, bring Skill here, let him get clean, not worry about nothing, and take care of him. I mean, he worked hard on that. You know, we see, again, this continuum in Chicago. I believe it is special water. That's why you get certain people out of here doing certain things, you know. So you see that now the conscious folk are sampling him. You know, you see him with Common sampling him. You see Lupe saying, hey, the television will not be revolutionized. You know, so it's just on and on and on and on.
I will say one last thing, and really briefly. I remember back in, when was it, 2001. We talked about
and he
this
played Bid Wiz. I'm sorry.
Okay.
Hey.
And we talked about this a bit before, but Gil Scott-Heron was on the front page of the New York Times only once in his life. And this was when he had, one of these run-ins with the judge. And one of the reasons why that, I remember seeing that in the newspaper that day, it was maybe May something that year, and thinking, here's somebody who has an amazing, varied output. And people who read the New York Times who might not otherwise know about him, they don't get a piece that looks over his whole career, talks about his contributions. They simply get that this black man has gone to jail, right? And if I can send people away from here with anything today, it's not simply to remember what a powerful musician he was politically, socially, but also to remember that he was funny as hell. He's an amazing comedian, but he also wrote a lot of really tender, really beautiful songs. And the thing that is most brilliant to me about what he did when he appeared on Saturday Night Live in 1975, everybody gets 2 songs. The first song is Johannesburg, to let people know about what was happening in South Africa at the time, the miners striking. But the other song was A Lovely Day. And this is a song about hope. It's a song about joy, a song about really being connected to and getting sustenance from one's community. And so remember, when you think about Gil Scott-Heron, that he encompasses all of that.
There's, I think, in understanding Brother Heron's life, I think there are 2 things that always come up. Community organizer here by the name of G2 Brown always says this. He says, as black people, we have never had collective time to heal. And when I think about Gil Scott-Heron's life, I think that's explicative of us not having that collective time to heal. And what does it actually mean to heal, and how, as black folks in this moment, need to engage this process of healing? Because if we look at everything from our lives in terms of our bodies and what we put in our bodies, and then how this actually ravages us over time if we don't pay attention, the responsibility in healing. And Gil's life was reflective of that, because we see it in so many spaces. But again, like Dr. Adams said, we let those folks die without speaking out. So what does it actually mean to interrupt that? And can our lives be reflective of that interruption when we've engaged in that collective time to heal?
I think about how fruitless were our efforts to keep Gil away from those destructive habits. Everyone tried. I mean, it was an all-out effort. People tried to convince him. They argued with him. They, had what do you call it? Confrontations, or there's another word I can't.
Interventions.
Interventions. Right.
Got a TV show now, right?
Nothing worked. He would justify, really, he would justify getting high. And it forces, I think one of the things we need to do, because many of our great artists had relationships with drugs. Mm-hmm. And we adopt a condemnatory attitude toward it, and often that condemnatory attitude doesn't work. It tries to exhort people to stop, but it doesn't work. Right. So maybe we need to try something new. And then this is what I think Gil teaches me, that you can't convince this brother. I mean, we had rhetorical firepower hitting this cat. It wouldn't work. So maybe there's another way, and maybe you guys can come up with that way.
I was thinking from Clive Davis, right? From Gil Scott, his first artist, to Whitney, right?
Yep.
I mean, that's the span. All right, Travis Jackson, Dr. Carol Adams, Dr. David Stovall, Mr. Salim Muwakil. Thank you all very much for being here.
This would not be a Gil event. This would not be a Gil jam session without a proper MC, and I am not a proper MC. So I am happy to introduce the MC for the rest of the evening of our poetry and music. Some of you probably already know him, I'm not even going to say Mr. I'm just going to say Mario, and everybody knows who I'm talking about, right? But if you don't, let me give a quick bio. He's a Chicago poet, educator, activist, and radio personality. Hosts news from the service entrance on WHPK 88.5 FM. And he has written essays for Chicago's public radio affiliate WBEZ, appeared on Voice of America, provided election night 2008 analysis for BBC Devon, and has performed his poetry at DePaul University of Chicago, Traffic Series at Steppenwolf Theater, inaugural season, MCA, United Nations Dialogue Among Civilizations, Old Town School of Folk Music. They gave me these lists. I don't know what they're doing. Okay, Art Institute of Chicago and the Chicago Cultural Center. So let's settle in for a wild ride with Mario.
Oh, hell no. No. Clap your hands. I ain't come all the way from Alabama for this. I got bronchitis. Peace and light. Good evening. Somebody say yeah, yeah. Somebody say yeah, yeah. That's what I'm talking about. How's everyone doing? Welcome to the show. First of all, thank you for coming. Yeah, thank you all for coming. When I was approached in December of 2011 about doing this, the only requirement that I had was that we make it really funky. And that when people leave, they leave with a deeper sense of who Gil Scott-Heron is and what he means to people. When we assembled the group that you see tonight, I only had one requirement, that they could all make you feel good when this is over with. To talk about Gil Scott-Heron is to talk about somebody that has had a profound influence on a lot of people in this room, a lot of people you like, and a couple people you don't, but that's another show. We want you to understand that when we put things together in Chicago, we barely can get 10 people to come out on one accord for any damn thing. What we're witnessing tonight is a testament to who Gil Scott-Heron was and to who we living are. We lost a person this week. Moni Rashad was dope. Moni Rashad was brilliant. She was the person, if you see her waiting on the bus, she's like, all right, boy, look. I'm a grown man, but I got all right, boy, look. She was a poet, a singer, an author. She was a soul sister, a freedom fighter, a truth seeker, a light worker. We dedicate our program tonight to Moni Rashad. We ain't doing no moments of silence, though. Clap your hands for the memory of Moni Rashad. I love you, Moni. This brother that's about to come up on the microphone was one of the founding members of the Funky Wordsmiths. Ashe Bo Brown. Ashe, Ashe Bo Brown. Bo, Keith, Nate, Koresh. The Funky Wordsmiths, putting it in, getting big work in. Yes. Then Keith started doing his own thing, and he's got all the gadgets and the old doo-wop microphone and stuff. Keith Kelly is a teacher. He is working with the youth, and he's doing his thing, and I'm glad that you all are here to see it, to warm up our house tonight. Ladies and gentlemen, make some noise. Start it off. It's Keith Kelly.
Thank you. Yeah, in terms of Funky Wordsmiths, I would like to give a shout out also to Funky Wordsmiths in the house, Miss Maggie Brown. Karay Shali Lansana. And Miss Sharon L. Powell. As well as Yusef Endur, who's in Oakland, and Fareed Mala, how do you pronounce his last name now? Malaluli, who's in, what he said. We knew him as Nate back in the day. But I'm going to start out with OPP, because I've been told that, yeah, in terms of Gil Scott-Heron and me, I think I'm going to start out with one of my favorite pieces by him. Niggas, 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 all niggas, 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 niggas. Sorry, wrong poet. You will not be able to stay home, brother. You will not be able to plug in, turn on, and cop out. You will not be able to lose yourself on Skag and skip out for beer during commercials because the revolution will not be televised. The revolution will not be televised. The revolution will not be brought to you by Xerox in 4 parts without commercial interruptions. The revolution will not show you pictures of Nixon blowing a bugle and leading a charge by John Mitchell, General Abrams, and Spiro Agnew to eat hog maws confiscated from a Harlem sanctuary. The revolution will not be televised. The revolution will not be brought to you by Schaefer Award Theater. It will not star Natalie Woods, Steve McQueen, or Bullwinkle and Julia. The revolution will not give your mouth sex appeal. The revolution will not get rid of the nub. The revolution will not make you look 5 pounds thinner. The revolution will not be televised, brother. The revolution will not be televised, brother. There will be no pictures of Willie Mays pushing a shopping cart down the block on a dead run, or trying to slide that color TV into a stolen ambulance. NBC will not be able to predict the winner at 8:32 on reports from 29 districts. The revolution will not be televised. There will be no pictures of pigs shooting down brothers on the instant replay. There will be no pictures of pigs shooting down brothers on the instant replay. There will be no pictures of Whitney Young being run out of Harlem on a rail with a brand new process. That's a perm for y'all that don't know. There will be no slow motion or still life of Roy Wilkins strolling through Watts in a red, black, and green liberation jumpsuit he had been saving for just the right occasion. Green Acres, the Beverly Hillbillies, and Hooterville Junction, or Beverly Shore, Jersey Shore, American Idol, and all that, will no longer be so goddamn relevant, and women will not care if Dick's finally screwed Jane on Search for Tomorrow, because black people will be in the streets looking for a brighter day. The revolution will not be televised. There will be no highlights. There will be no highlights on 11 o'clock news, and no pictures of hairy-armed women liberationists or Jackie Onassis blowing her nose. The theme song will not be written by Jim Webb or Francis Scott Key, nor will it be sung by Glenn Campbell, Tom Jones, Johnny Cash, or Engelbert Humperdinck, or The Rare Earth. The revolution will not be televised. The revolution will not be right back. After a message about a white tornado, white lightning, or white people, you will not have to worry about the dove in your in your bedroom, the tiger in your tank, or the giant in your toilet bowl. The revolution will not go better with Coke. The revolution will not fight germs that may cause bad breath. The revolution will put you in the driver's seat. The revolution will not be televised, will not be televised, will not be televised, will not be televised, will not be televised. The revolution will be no rerun, brothers. The revolution will be live. Thank you. This next piece was actually written by Mr. R.E. Brown. I don't know if y'all familiar. And it was arranged by Smokin' Joe Thomas and recorded by the Funky Wordsmiths. You might actually hear a child's voice in the background. That was my 3-year-old daughter, Maximani. But, by the way, I'm dedicating my performance this evening to a man named Calden Everidge, who worked with Chicago Public Schools. And what he did was he was a bridge between CPS board and the community. And while CPS is busy trying to put a spin on teachers molesting children and teachers getting ready to go out on strike, somehow or another the brother's passing didn't make the news. So I'm telling y'all. So this is for Cal. This piece is called The Messenger. Checked the building directory and headed for the elevators. A voice came over my shoulder and asked me,
"Excuse me, Chief. Are you a messenger?"
What a loaded question to ask a poet. A question my polyester-clad brother had neglected to ask the 3 suits that were getting on the elevator I was missing. But then again, in the heart of the concrete jungle, 9 suits are considered to be social security risks, or at the very least, messengers. Messengers. Are you a messenger? Where you want to go?
Where do you want to go? Where are you standing now? Where are you standing now? Are you 2 feet on the ground?
Now, his question wasn't really a question. Actually, it was more like a reminder. Actually, it was the excuse me, you're black reminder. In his eyes, he was just doing his job. In my eyes, he was doing someone else's job. And I guess I took too long to respond, so I repeated the question, this time slower and firmer. Are you a messenger? I fought back the urge to show him with a message that had something to do with N-words in monkey suits. White supremacy-based black inferiority complexes, and believe it or not, sensitivity training. I'm trying to go upstairs for my meeting. I think I answered that question. But rather than answer his question, I calmly answered, no. And walked into the elevator. He looked like he didn't believe me. But what would he have done if I had answered, yeah, my brother, I am a messenger. I mean, they still kill messengers, don't they? The Messenger, based on a reoccurring true story. The Messenger. 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 There's December. Yeah, that was Smoking Joe Thomas on bass, Herb Walker on guitar, Mr. Vince Willis on keyboards, and Franklin Vanderbilt on drums. Actually, yeah, when I got downstairs, they were waiting for me. And you know who I mean by they? He's like, the nigga just went upstairs. Okay. Now, I had a whole litany of poems that I had to like run through that I was trying to figure out what to do. And I'm not going to do them all. So this next piece. Oh, wait. This next piece started out as a haiku. It's called Chocolate Goddess. She is beautiful, what we used to call healthy. Chocolate Goddess. Boom, taka ta doom, taka doom, chicka, boom, taka ta doom, chicka digga digga. Boom, taka ta doom, taka doom, chicka, boom, taka ta doom, chicka digga digga. Boom, taka ta doom, taka doom, chicka, boom, taka ta doom, chicka digga digga. Boom, taka ta doom, taka doom, chicka, boom, taka ta doom, chicka digga digga. Boom, taka ta boom, taka doom, chicka, boom, taka ta doom, chicka digga digga. Boom, taka ta boom, taka doom, chicka, boom, taka ta doom, chicka digga digga. Boom, taka ta boom, taka doom, chicka, boom. It sounds a little better with the band. And this features Maggie Brown on vocals. She conquers ignorance with kindness. She saves us from masculinity's blindness. Nature's song sings sweetly in her ears as the earth revolves and trembles from the weight of her tears. She educates by providing inspiration. She propagates after weeks of gestation. My sister warrior wages our struggle for life. my sister warrior, mother, daughter, friend, and wife. All this and more are possible. She is the chocolate goddess. The chocolate goddess. All this and more are possible.
All this and more are possible. All this and more are possible. All this and more are possible. All this and more.
She perpetuates an intercontinental tribe. Her mere existence instigates pride. She rocks the credit limits, boats of a man's world, and finds strength, motivation, and love in her beautiful self. In the words, Colored Girl.
Are possible. All this and more are possible. All this and more are possible. All this and more.
She wipes the noses and asses of doctors, lawyers, preachers, teachers, pimps, pushers, drug addicts, dope fiends, doctors, rabbis, police officers, principals, postal workers, civil servants, pencil pushers, vagrants, beggars, thieves, kings, queens, drag queens, presidents, and revolutionaries. All this and more are possible. She is the chocolate goddess. So, we got any believers out there? Better yet, we got any chocolate goddesses out there? Oh, you heard that? Yeah. You got to believe in something. Once upon a time, I just believed I'd have another drink. The chocolate goddess. And one more quick tune before I go. This is for Bobo Brown. And his nephews. This is for the children. This is for Bobo. Boom ding daka ta da doom 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 ka boom ding daka ta da doom 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 ka boom ding daka ta da doom 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 ka doom ding daka ta da doom 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 ka boom ding daka ta da doom 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 ka boom ding daka ta da doom 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 ka boom ding daka ta da doom 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 ka boom ding daka ta da doom 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 ka boom ding daka ta da doom doom. This piece is called Inedible Youth. Feed your child the truth. We gotta raise more inedible youth. We don't live somewhere off in Neverland, where a crocodile hisses at the heels of Captain Hook, its belly tick-tock, ticking away the inevitability of justice. We don't live on some magic PBS playground where a revisionist purple dragon sings new and improved nursery rhymes to a cathode ray United Colors of Benetton Poster Children's Chorus for NEA and MacArthur Foundation politically incorrect reasons. We live in America. We live in America, America the land where the wolves are foolishly trusted to shepherd the flock. Yeah, if America, we don't live in some fairy tale by the Brothers Grimm where wolves eat little girls who take food to their grandmothers. We live in America. We work in America. We play in America. Our children are considered prey in America. And if we don't want them to be consumed by America, we got to raise more inedible youth. Once again, my name is Keith M. Kelly. My name is Keith M. Kelly. And I bid you peace. That's two fingers together. Because it's about unity, not division. And I bid you love. And I bid each and every one of you safe passage wherever your dreams or journeys may take you. Thank you. Good night. Peace. 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 Peace.
Hey man, turn your crazy house music on. There you go, turn right back on. Keith M. Kelly, everybody. Give him a nice round of applause.
Peace.
Next brother that's about to come up is a dynamo. You saw him earlier when he did our invocation. He is a Cave Canem fellow. I never thought I'd say nothing like that in my life because I didn't even know you wanted to go to Cave Canem. Y'all know what Cave Canem is? All right. He's a Cave Canem is like the DuSable Museum of Poetry. And that's not a bad thing at all. Pomone Ramey in the building. Dr. Carol Adams also in the building. That's an excellent thing to be compared to the DuSable Museum. Let's give the DuSable a quick round of applause, please. That's our house. The DuSable is your den to go see stuff that you didn't know was hidden in your attic. That's at the DuSable. All that is there. This brother is, no proper adjectives. I've never met anybody like him. Avery R. Young.
See, this is already foolishness. Yeah, I know, right? It's all good.
So, I eat black, sleep black, walk black, talk black, sing black, dance black, write black, romance black. I live black in a black house, driving a black car, because black is the reason I am, and black has kept me so far. I'm married black, I carry black on my back, I bow black, I die black. I comb my black hair with a black comb and brush it with a few passes of my black hands. I get my do that black touch. I kiss with black lips, swing with black hips, spank a black ass, drink black coffee out of a black glass. I wear black clothes, walk in black shoes. I even wear black drawers. When I was a young and I wore black underoos. My heroes be black. Shaft, Superfly, Christy Love, Carmen Jones. Willie Dynamite said, what you saying, Willie? You can handle your bitches. James 00 Black Brown, the blacks of brothers and sisters that I know and uphold as my heroes. I have a black mama, black daddy, black children, black roll, black rock, black bip bop, bip bop, black hip hop, black disco, black soul, black joy, black sorrow. I'll be black today and I'll be black tomorrow because black is my reason. Black is in this season and all year round because black is my sound. I shit black, I fuck black, I hate black, I'm late, therefore I'm black. I empathize black. I criticize black. And did I mention that I drink black juice, Kool-Aid, red. I drink Kool-Aid in a black shade that cools the heat of black day. Black day, what a concept. I have a black voice. I yearn black approval. I exercise on black choice. Black is my pride, and blackness I hide. I think black, I blink black, I feel black, I thrill black, I see black, but that's not all I see. So when you look, notice the black I am, the black I'll be, so I will never hit nigga, why does everything gotta be black? Being asked by you, cause now you know that's how I am, and that's how I do. That's black everything. 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 That's black, 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 black. I'm a black boy with a bag of candy. You, sir, you got a gun. I be a black boy with a bag of candy. You, dear sir, grown man with a gun. I be a black boy with a bag of candy. You, sir, be a grown man with a gun. Let's play. let's play. Rock, paper, Skittles. Rock, paper, Skittles. When the rain pouring down from the sky, could be what the weather ordered. When the rain pouring down from the sky, could be just what the weather ordered. When the rain fall down from the sky, could be what the weather ordered. Come on, let's play. Let's play. Let's play. Rock, paper, Skittles. Let's play. Rock, paper, Skittles. Bang, bang, good. Hey, T-boy, blood on the ground. Bang, bang, good. T-boy, blood on the ground. Bang, bang, good Lord. OMG. T-boy, blood on the ground. We've been playing. We've been playing. Hey, rock, paper, Skittles. Rock, paper, Skittles. Rock, paper, Skittles. Rock, paper, Skittles. Mr. Zimmerman won. Hold on. I'm sorry. Look. Shake you, my soldier. We gonna die together. And this water coming. Hey, this water coming. Shake you, my soldier. We gonna die here together. And this water coming. Hey, this water coming. No money, no gas, no food truck stuck in the curse of this little passage. And this water keep coming. Hey, this water keep coming. No money, no gas, no food truck stuck in the curse of this middle passage. And the water keep coming. Hey, water keep coming. Inside this dome, they just stacking of strangers. Above my head, this dome is leaking of danger. The National Guards just be devils in number, so they call you running like pigs aboard the slaughter. And the smell, good Lord, the smell. Smell sisters bleeding, brothers seething, babies, crazies, yeah. is barbecuing. New savory refugees in the wilderness and water keep coming. Hey, water keep coming. Cause either I stay living this hell or I meet you over in glory. I tell you, this water keep coming. Hey, this water keep coming. I tell you that niggas can't swim. But we forget we be just like him. Hey, cousin, we gonna walk on top of this water. Hey! We gonna walk on top of this water. I heard. Niggas can't swim. But we forget we be just like him. Hey, cousin, we gonna walk. We gonna cat daddy. On top of this water, and we gonna be one with the sun. We gonna walk this road to glory, my Lord, and I. We gonna talk. We gonna tell. Wish I had a prayer church. Right now, wish I had a prayer church. We gonna walk and talk and tell a story. My Lord, and I. Rain or shine. Snow, sleep. Y'all ain't hear me. Rosa Parks say, I'm gonna sit down. I ain't gonna work my feet. And we.
Avery R. Young. All day long. This J2, y'all. The DJ your mama love. Lakeshore Drive Radio, WHBK. I would like to introduce the woman who made that box. She's a wonderful artist. She's a better poet than she is an artist, and she's a pretty awesome artist. And she's a better person than she is either poet or artist. This is my buddy, my Malbec buddy. Can you dig it? With her, she's going to introduce them. Ladies and gentlemen, please give her a nice round of applause. This is my baby. I love this woman so much. She is the real deal. It's Krista Franklin.
How y'all doing?
you know, in classic Christopher Franklin Cancerian style, I showed up late, but I'm here. And I'm gonna be performing this piece, this Gil Scott-Heron piece from his last album, right before he passed away. And I'm gonna be doing this with my brother back here behind me, J2. Yeah, please. So this is, you know, y'all bear with me because, you know, this is a very momentous evening, I feel like, in terms of honoring this legacy of this man, you know, and it's beautiful to be here in this space with y'all. It feels like family. I feel very comfortable. So I'm going to do Me and the Devil. Early this morning, when you knocked upon my door. Early this morning, when you knocked upon my door. And I said, hello, Satan. I believe it's time to go. Me and the devil, walking side by side. Me and the devil, walking side by side. And I'm gonna see my woman till I get satisfied. See, you don't see why people dogging me around. Say I don't see why people dogging me around. Must be that old evil spirit so deep down in the ground. You may bury my body down by the highway side. When I'm gone, you may bury my body down by the highway side. So my old evil spirit can Greyhound bust that ride. Early this morning, when you knocked upon my door. Early this morning, when you knocked upon my door. And I said, hello, Satan. I believe it's time to go. Me and the devil, walking side by side. Me and the devil, walking side by side. And I'm gonna see my woman till I get satisfied. See, you don't see why, like you were dogging me around. Say I don't see why people dogging me around. Must be that old evil spirit so deep down in the ground. you may bury my body down by the highway side. When I'm gone, you may bury my body down by the highway side. So my old evil spirits can Greyhound bus that ride. Standing in the ruins of another black man's life, or flying through the valley, separating day and night. I am death, cried the vulture, for the people of the light. Charon brought his rafts from the sea that sails on souls, and I saw the scavenger departing, taking warm hearts to the cold. He knew the ghetto was a haven for the meanest creature ever known. In a wilderness of heartbreak, in a desert of despair, evil's clarion of justice shrieks a cry of naked terror, taking babies from their mamas, leaving grief beyond compare. So if you see the vulture coming, flying circles in your mind, remember there is no escaping, for he will follow close behind. Only promise me a battle for your soul and mind, and mine, and mine.
Krista Franklin, y'all make some noise. Ladies and gentlemen, this next honored guest tonight is part of the first family of Chicago music. Her father, Oscar Brown Jr., was that dude, Big Oscar. Make some noise. Ashe, Oscar. That was my man. We are honored to have her here tonight. It means a lot personally for me. That's the first phone call I made was to Maggie. And she was like, I'm down. What time? Where we going to be? Ladies and gentlemen, Maggie Brown.
So, man, Gil Scott-Heron coming up, growing into my own consciousness, thinking I'm growing into my own consciousness, right? Not realizing that, no, because of Daddy and the Phil Korans and all that I came up around ever since I was little, that really it was always, embedded in me. But, coming into my own with my own set of peers and, learning music. And, of course, it felt familial because Dad had been doing that, poetry over a jazz beat and messages, talking about the condition, talking about how to understand what's going on so we can make those necessary changes and solutions. So it's an honor when I got the call to say that I could participate in honoring Gil Scott, and then I get to work with Prime Meridian, never did that before, and so that's opened up a whole new thing, and that's a beautiful thing. Yay! Made me write a little rhyme. Watch, y'all ain't ready, all right. This is a piece by Oscar Brown Jr. It's actually the title song, yep. I check for my dad. It's actually, yay. It's actually the title song of a musical play, one that has never been brought to the stage, in fact. We hope to do that one day in the very near future. It's called Black Stars. And it reminds me, I did a study of the history of black music, had a show called Legacy, and traced the history of the music, and, just look at how things unfolded. I mean, we came, and it combined classical and it combined African, and it created a whole new musical language. But then we were always dissed about it. We couldn't, Scott Joplin sold the first million seller, but he didn't get the million pennies from the sale of his sheet music, all the way down to what they pimping now. They're getting a little money, but dad, look what they're selling out. Okay, anyway. Y'all been hearing a lot of talking and a lot of people with more facts than me. So Black Stars is just, it's one that I'm inspired to do at the Gil Scott thing. A little brighter.
Black stars cast in a midnight sky have to blaze extra hot and high, or the planet may spin right by. Black stars, black stars must give a greater glow. Always put on a special show, or the planet may never know. Black stars, starlight, star bright, first star I see tonight. Wish I may, wish I might, blaze bright, bright, white. Starshine, divine, great zodiac design. Bless my soul, bless my sign, make fame and fortune mine. Black stars hidden behind a cloud. Find it hard to attract the crowd. That much brilliance is not allowed. Black stars, black stars, hidden away from view. Little space for the likes of you in a scheme that's red, white, and blue. Black stars, oh, say can you see? Black stars. Uh-huh. Energy. Energy, that's what was swinging. Energy that they be bringing. With each note they played in a serenade made to a jazz beat. You know, Gil Scott-Heron had this song called Is That Jazz? Mm-hmm. Daddy has a song called Young Jazz. It reminds us of the days back when he was a young cat on the south side of Chicago, and there were a lot of joints jumping with folks snapping and clapping and doing like you're doing. Mm-hmm. It was played hot. Jazz was played hot on this south side of Chicago, and this song talks about in the days before jazz received a college education, when the location of a happening sound would get grapevine around, and all
as they descend on the scene to seek what could be found. Observing the ladies, observing their faces, their shapeliness, the ways they dress, artistic taste that they express, appreciating music, sitting at bars, digging stars, and giving up ovations for some hip improvisations. Energy, that's what was swinging. Energy that they be bringing with each note they play in a serenade made to a jazz beat. Jumping the blues and paying long overdues, running that sound all into the ground. Every note made to that beat had a message that summoned us to visit the spot for the enjoyment we got listening to jazz played hot. Ladies, brothers, sisters, you've been enjoying the sounds of Brother J2 all evening. Won't you welcome the rest of the Prime Meridian? Welcome them. I'm in place, he was always measures ahead. Ellington was more than #1 for the music, things that he said. Bird was a word back when tennis was heard, from Kansas right up to the press. Billy was really the queen of the scene that keeps echoing on in my head. But it had, well, surely had a style that amazes and raises the spirit from deep in your soul. Train struck a vein, laughter and pain, visions his mind could explore. Rob taught the freedom and gods in their own individual way. Singing and playing as long as it's bringing a message and all that it says, what it has. Sure it has. Before jazz received a college education, when the location of a happening sound will get grapevined around and all the cats will come clean as they descend on the scene to seek what could be found, observing the ladies, observing their faces, their shapes, and the ways they dress, artistic taste that they express, appreciating what it has.
Y'all like jazz?
Y'all like jazz?
When they
we
try,
got some jazz for you tonight.
Yeah. On the track be some running, like them track meets we gunning to the point of no returning. Yeah, we all having fun. It's like jazz, casting jack breaks. I'm a rap with my black cape. Well equipped to make it stick to you like black tape. A masking, we sorta like Scots on the rocks. We just a mash of your minds. We like them cops on your blocks. In the beat with a steak, a modern day beatnik. And when we blow like Dizzy Gillespie, yes, we all seasick. It's that jazz.
We got the jazz, the raspberry task, finesse, jazz up and to make it blow pop. And who is them cats with the skit, the scat, the boom in the back? So hip on the track, making it rock. Off of the top, thinking out of the box, to give it the box, to make the one thing out the shocks and shoes, making it hot. Who is the blues when you're watching that Fox on the news?
It's that jazz, yeah. Maggie Brown, y'all. Give it up for Maggie Brown.
Yay! Here we go. Sagging spells backwards spells niggas.
Oh, ayo. It's a ayo. It's a ayo. Y'all ready to party? Come on. Da, 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 ayo. Sing along if you know it. Everybody say ayo. It's a ayo.
I'm not a nigga. Don't call me nigga.
Don't call me nigga.
We not niggas.
We need to turn it around.
You see some niggas? Point out a nigga.
Point 'em
I
out.
don't see no nigga.
We need to turn it around.
We niggas? I'm not a nigga.
I'm not a nigga.
Don't call me nigga.
We need to turn it around.
We not niggas.
Not niggas.
Don't call me
There's
nigga.
no more
I ain't no nigga.
We need to turn it around.
N-I-G-G-A or E-R. We are not niggas, man. We bigger than that. We the magi, the most high. You and I versatile. Magnetic attract. The panther is black. The plan of attack is take it back to the origin. Original sources of pivotal importance. Get it back on course and we've been forced into self-abortion, black.
See, I'm an N-I to the N-J-A. If I wouldn't, I really wouldn't pretend when they say the I-G-G-A. My high GPA. In the school of hard knocks, allowing to be this way. All these fools kick rocks, some think the word's better dead. Some off misled, off Willie Lynch letterhead. Even the president, the head ninja in charge to make the members jail sentence for using the N-word.
Let me hear you say, ayo.
Come on, y'all. It's real hard. It's like,
ayo.
Sing along, y'all.
Say, ayo.
Feel the groove. It's
say,
like,
ayo. It go ba-da-ba-ba-ba-da-ba-da, ayo. I say, ayo.
Sing along, y'all.
I say, ayo. Bigger than that.
We love pretty women from Canada to Mexico.
All right now.
They love to see him coming and they hate it when he had to go. A macho man before macho ever came to town. And the only problem was not enough for him to go around. He had more romances than LA's got stars. He had more romances than Detroit got cars. More romances than doctors got pills. More romances than Beverly's got his.
We ain't niggas. Don't call me nigga.
Don't call me that. Don't call me that.
Niggas.
But you need to pull your pants up.
We ain't niggas. Don't call me niggas.
What's that?
I don't
Say
see
what?
no niggas.
Pull your pants up.
Ain't no niggas. Where a nigga? Point out a nigga. You see a nigga? Point to a nigga. Cause I don't see no niggas.
Yeah, we better than that.
Ayo. Say ayo. They go ayo. I say ayo. Ayo. Say ayo. You gotta help me out. I know I can't sing. Let's go.
We hate to see him coming when you're grooving at your favorite bar.
At your favorite bar.
He's the death of the party and a self-acclaimed superstar.
Superstar.
Got a permanent Jones to assure you he been everywhere. A show-stopping, name-dropping answer to the ladies' prayer. You know he had more women than Yellow Page got pages. Had more romances than Plain got cages. He had more romances than pills by the doctor. Y'all know what I mean. Legend in his own mind. Guys get the women on a day. Wasn't giving up a thing.
Yo, sag and spell backwards spells niggas.
Yeah,
sag and spell backwards spells niggas.
What do it spell? Sag and spell backwards spells niggas. Did you know that? Sag and spell backwards spells niggas. N-I-G-G.
Sag and spell backwards spells niggas. What it say? Sag and spell backwards spells niggas. What it say? Sag and spell backwards spells niggas. What it say? Sag and spell backwards spells niggas.
Why you wanna do that? Say ya. Why you do that? I say why you wanna do that? Why? Yeah. Woo. We're gonna do one that's a favorite, you know, if you gotta pick one. Yeah, this is definitely one. It's one that's always rung in my head. Yeah, never mind the words.
From the town to the nation, we'd like to do a song for you about the larger picture. There's only one season lately. There used to be an agreement between the seasons that they would all come and stay for 3 months and then go to wherever seasons go when they're not where we are. Lately there has been no spring, no summer, and no fall. Politically and philosophically and psychologically, there has only been the season of ice. It is a season of frozen dreams and frozen nightmares, a scene of frozen progress and frozen ideas, frozen aspirations and inspirations. They call the season winter. We call the song Winter in America.
From the Indians, welcome the pilgrims to the buffalo who once ruled the plain. Like the vultures circling beneath the dark clouds, looking for some rain. Looking for some rain. Just like the cities staggered on the coastline, in the nation just can't take much more. Like the forest buried beneath the highway, never had a chance to grow. Never had a chance to grow. Let me say, and now it's the winter. Winter in America. Yeah, and all of the healers have been killed or sent away. But the people know it's winter. It's winter in America. Ain't nobody fighting, 'cause nobody knows what to say. Save your soul. Lord knows from winter in America. Send me on, y'all.
Yeah, it's winter in America, living in America, world getting colder, building up our character. It's winter in America, we living in America, world getting colder, we building our character. It's winter in America, we living in America, the world getting colder, we building up our character. It's living in America, winter in America,
we living in America, we building up our character.
I say this for Trayvon and Darian and Emmett Till, see they all been killed, and Rodney King and Dr. King and off King drive. I seen violence, police sirens, high fiends firing up, internet fiends wiring up. Where let me unplug, cause it warms my soul. It's like everything is taking its toll.
Rakia Boy, Cornelius Ware, Herbert McCarter, even Sean Bell. Some you know, some you don't. All brutalized victims of the po-po. You call them police, I call them police, cause if you po, they in your life like lice. Up in your hair, that's how we do it. We floating out of here.
See us when they're in America. We living in America. The world getting colder. We building our character. We living in America. It's when they're in America. The world getting colder. We building our character.
I'm building up
in America. In America, the world getting colder. The winter getting scarier, but when they're in America, living in America. And as of now, see, we building up our character.
I'm building up my character. Where in the hell am I supposed to fit into this America? Our eyes still realize all the terror and all of the cycle of lies produced and broadcast they sell to you. A bunch of undesirable, phony life scenarios. Got sisters and brothers going mentally hysterical. Need to block out sounds of poison coming out of your stereo. Got females dressed in hoochie and all these niggas are sagging low. Got all of y'all listening, but I know you don't hear me though. You don't hear me though. Hard to find a time to decipher a peaceful moment. So much trickeration, no time for me to comment. We gotta make a change fast like revolution. 180 degrees, turn up with some solutions. No more time for playing games in the park like it's summer. It's that cold, no time to doze season. Sound the drummers. It's winter in America, y'all.
In America. We live in America. The world getting colder.
America.
The world getting colder. Building up our character.
Living.
Y'all feeling that?
In America. Thank you.
If that spirit taking your soul right now, everybody say, yeah. If y'all feeling the legacy of Gil Scott, everybody say, yeah. If y'all know that music is what's gonna heal our people, say, yeah.
Oh, I know it's gonna take some healing music, y'all. Just like it took all that destructive stuff to get us here. I just made that up, but that's for real though. It's gonna take some healing, y'all. Like everybody up here with all the words that flowed here. Healing like that. Recognition like this one for Gil Scott-Heron. Recognition like this one for Gil Scott-Heron. Recognition for Gil Scott-Heron. Recognition for Gil Scott-Heron. Recognition, most Def gives recognition. Kanye West Common gives recognition. They named a bunch of other people that sampled Gil and Brian. You know, they had to hear his message when they sampled him. Wonder why they took that road. Some of them conscious, but some of them selling that same old poison. Selling that same old. Gotta lift it up like Gil did. In his pain, he lifted it. In his pain, when he expressed it, he lifted it. Thank you.
Maggie Brown, Prime Meridian, Mr. Sean Wallace on the keys. This is Maggie Brown, y'all. Thank you so much for coming. Thank you so much for coming, Chicago. Thank you so much for coming.